In today's episode, we take a logo and we add a wipe reveal that includes a particle system. Everything in this tutorial can be achieved with the free version of DaVinci Resolve. Let's get started. Alright, so we're going to start this off by just taking our logo, dropping it on the timeline. Just turn this into a Fusion, and once we're in Fusion, I'm going to make a background transparent, and I just want to do that so I can take this logo and bring it into a merge, and then in the merge, I play the merge over here. Down here it shows you which viewer you're in. If you hit 1, it'll show up here. If you hit 2, it'll show up over here. Okay, so with the first merge, I'm just going to scale this down to make it look like a good size for the viewer. Make sure this is at fit, so there we go. The first, I'm going to make a little sliver that will slide across the logo, and then that is going to be the object that we're going to be using to have the particle emitter produce particles from. So what I'll do is I'll just grab a rectangle, and I will grab another merge, and I will connect this merge to the foreground and take this transparent background and then just have that as the background. Green is foreground, yellow is background. Then we'll connect this rectangle up, and when we have it connected, if we play it over here, what you'll notice is that it'll only display what's inside that rectangle. So if I reduce the rectangle width, it'll reduce what's actually visible for this particular merge. So I'm going to just play this one over here, and so I can see where I'm at. So I'll come to this side. There's nothing here, and you can see that there's nothing here. In this monitor, I'm playing the merge before the merge that has the rectangle, just so I can see where I'm moving it about. So if you're adding different masks and stuff, mainly with like the paint mask tool, let me just show you that quick. When you're working with the paint mask tool, so like let's say I wasn't using this rectangle, I was using the paint mask tool, and let's say I wanted to draw a mask, I can't see what I'm going to be drawing. So if I take my pen and then I just add a path, I can come along, because I'm looking here at this merge, I can just come along and make a mask for this guy over here, so then you can see it. So that's why you would use the two different windows. Okay, so we don't actually want that. We want this rectangle. Connect that rectangle back up to the mask, and then we'll just come to frame 0, and the center point, we'll keyframe that, and then we'll come to, let's say, just frame 60, and we will bring this to the other side. So throughout this, it's just revealing the different parts. So that looks good. Now I want to have a similar effect, but after this particular merge passes over, I want something to then reveal it and maintain its the ability to view it. So I'm just going to grab another rectangle and another merge, and I'll just connect it up the same exact way, and then have this one here. But for this particular rectangle, let me play this one over here. For this particular rectangle, I want it to follow, but still be able to see the whole thing. So what I'm gonna do is I'm going to increase the width to make sure I can see the whole thing. And we'll come back to frame 0 in this particular merge, and I will keyframe this at the beginning. So let's just move it over just a little bit. And then frame 60, let's go at 62. We'll have the whole thing viewable. Now if we connect these two up, let's see how this looks. Okay. It seems like here at the beginning, let me play this one over Here, and this one over. Oh, this is kind of difficult to view. But it almost looks like here you can see the little bit. Actually, you know what? For this particular merge, let's just add a, on here, we'll just add a soft edge so that they kind of blend into one another, hopefully. Okay, so I want to go, let's go to frame 2. And for this keyframe, I want this to wait a little bit. So it starts after the fact. There we go. Now we have that, you can see that little bit of difference in there. Okay. I might need to adjust this, but we'll just go on for now, and if I need to adjust it later, I will. Okay, so this top merge that has just a little sliver, we want to add a particle system to this. So I'm just going to pull down an emitter, and then I'm going to pull down a renderer, and I'm going to connect the two. And then in the emitter, I'm going to come over to this fourth little guy, and it says region. We want to go to bitmap, and then it'll create another little node here, or another connection point. Then we can connect these two. Now what's happening is the location of the emitter is tied to this merge. All right. The other thing I want to do is for collection or color, I'm just going to go with region. So whatever is visible, it's going to use that color. All right. And then we have point. Let's see how this is currently looking. Okay, that's how it's looking, but we only want to have this 2D. So now we'll switch it over to 2D. And currently you don't really see much. So let's go into our emitter and then come over to the amount here. And the more you increase this, obviously the more resources you're gonna need, but the better it's going to look. So I think let's try 2000. See how that looks. Okay. So now it's just kind of like there. Let's add some motion into it. So they're just being produced, but they're just sitting there. They have nothing acting against them. So there's a couple of different things. If you come into tools and then go into particles, there's a couple of different tools that you can use. The first one that we're going to use is directional force, which is just kind of like, let's say, a gravity. If you hold shift and then bring it up to the connection, it'll automatically connect it. So that is our, let's say, gravity. Let's maybe reduce the strength half here of what it was. Okay, so currently it's just, they're being produced and then they're being affected by like a gravity. So then they're dropping down. That looks good. The other thing I want to add in is it looks very uniform right now. So I want to add in, so I'm going to be adding in turbulence. And we'll just connect this here as well. And then in turbulence Z, I'm just going to drop down, and I think I'm going to increase these a bit, maybe just by 4. Let's just do 4, and then this one by 4 as well. Take a look at that. Okay, so now it's really being affected by this gravity and the turbulence. So let's play this and see how this looks. All right, that looks kind of cool. We can always increase the particles, but let's just see how everything's looking. Because this is set up for output of 2D, I can connect this now to 2D things. If it's 3D and I try to connect this to a 2D object, it won't work because I need a 3D renderer to be added as well as a camera. It's a little more complexity added in there, but because of how this effect is all just 2D, I really don't need that unless I want it like some type of depth of field where some of the particles that are close are a little blurry, some that are, you know, out in the distance are a little blurry, but for now we don't need that. So connect these two, now play it over here, and let's see how this reveal looks and the timing between these two rectangle masks that we were working with before. Okay. So they look like they're pretty close. I would say that's pretty on point there. I'm kind of liking that. think I want to increase this, maybe double the amount of particles here. All right, now let's take a look at this. And currently, as you can see, this isn't playing back at real time, just because it's not cached. So we're only at 6 frames, and then over here you can just see it'll just start to chew through your memory. And that's kind of typical with this sort of thing. So there we go, now it's playing back at 24. All right, I don't think that looks bad. I think that's looking pretty good. The other thing that I can add after this renderer, I can add in a glow to add like a little bit of a glow effect, and that strength is way too much. But maybe something like that where when they get close together, they start to like really glow in there. And if you were to have this like at a higher frame rate, it would look a bit smoother too. But I think it looks pretty good just the way it is. The additional thing that you can do is you can see that this is kind of looking a little bit like chunky, like you could come into this rectangle and we could increase the width a little bit and then add a tad bit of softness onto that. And I'll kind of make that go away. Okay, as you can see here, it just keeps producing it. It's because we made this rectangle bigger and we added softness, so it's just kind of sitting there at the edge. So what you'll want to do is at frame 60, you just want to make sure that you have that scooted off so it stops creating particles there. I think this is coming out pretty well. There you go. So the last thing that we would add here before we do immediate output is add in another background node. Let's see what color this is. And we'll just drop this down and maybe like a tint of a color here. So maybe something like that. And then connect that up. Now it's on a background. There we go. Looking good. All right, and then at the end here, you could just connect this up to a media out so it gets pushed back onto the timeline. Other things that you can do, if you haven't seen my video for animating a static logo, you could animate the static logo and then add an effect on top of it like this. And with something bouncing around like I did for the Puma logo, we'd see here, it would really add a lot more into it. So that's kind of it for this logo particle reveal. Let me know in the comments what you think about this one. If you have any ideas or suggestions for me to do in the future, let me know down there as well. Again, my name's JR, and thanks for watching.